it feels terrible that 3 tiers ago I farmed Mythic Plus and got a bunch of residuum and then bought one specific shoulder piece, and then the tier after that I did the same thing again, and then the tier after that I did the same thing again, and it's putting this continuing effort into not having anything better. Just the treadmill effect. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And that is what I think is.
And
the
you're
biggest
even
problem
buying
with
the same piece, right? Like
it's
just
literally the exact
just
same
30
piece
levels higher. Oh, great. Yeah.
every single tier.
And you're
Yeah,
like,
that feels
maybe I
bad.
should gamble for it. I'm feeling lucky.
No, Roger,
JK.
don't.
JK. If you have gambled and you got lucky, then check W's in the chat. If you gambled and you're like me and you have gambled 20 times and got nothing, then do some Pepe hands or something, dude. I don't know. Man. What a salty subject to touch upon. Interesting.
The other thing, just on a note, we said the word when we were talking about getting rid of an old system and bringing in a new one. I was just getting triggered because we kept saying scrapping, and I think we can all agree that needs to go.
Oh yes, let's quickly touch on that.
No, there's no quickly, Roger.
Expulsum. Expel the expulsum out of this game, please. Blizzard, I beg you. It is the worst thing in terms of crafting I have ever seen in these 15 years of World of Warcraft. I have never seen anything worse than that. Is there even a debate on this one? Like, can you see any redeeming factor of expulsum?
Yeah.
Anyone? Okay. What is it?
It makes that people can make a lot of money on the auction house, yeah.
Oh, with making bracers of linen or something.
Yeah, just tight spray linen, man.
Especially, like I said earlier, at the beginning of the Warfronts with the collecting stage, which is probably by far the most boring one, is like the biggest issue, because maybe it seems kind of fun when you control in the actual RPS. Is it RPS? RTS? Like
RTS,
in Warcraft 3, RTS.
real-time strategy, yeah.
Exactly. Like if you do it in Warcraft 3, it may be fun controlling all your units, having that micromanagement. But since like in World of Warcraft, every individual player is just doing it with their one main character, you just run from place A to B, collect a little bit of wood. I think just that kind of system doesn't really work in WoW, because like how is that fun to begin with? And then like you guys said, since the difficulty was so easy, didn't matter if normal mode or heroic, it was just always destined to fail in my eyes.
Roger suggested turning us into the Arthas, and instead Blizzard turned us into the peons.
Exactly. Yes, wait. That's a perfect way of putting it. You didn't have any control of what the peons do. You were the peon. That's it. And not even that, right? Because if you had, let's say you have the 20-man raid, you go into a heroic warfront, you're like, let's do this. Then why not have one guy be the leader, and he decides where people go, and you're just the footman, and you get like the orders like, go there and attack there, and you're like, oh, and you go.
Chop wood for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you will right-click leave group.
No. They could have done something more than what they did, for sure. It just feels like they gave up and they're like, there you go. Yeah, job's done. Okay.
I can do that.
I can do that. We need more wood. Oh, what was it? Or more lumber. We need more lumber.
The only distinction between daily quests and world quests that I can see is the physically going to the place and reporting into your sergeant saying, what shall I do today, boss? And then saying, I did it. And in 2020, none of us do that anymore, right? We're all
exactly. I mean, we just send a message to them, yeah, like, yo, I did it. Send me the gold. Yeah, you don't have to actually go. Okay.
I feel like the only reason essences were a good thing, and they were, was because classes this expansion are so shallow and anemic and unfun.
That's what Dipsy said as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Essences added some depth that hadn't been there before. So it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, essences are great, when while they added stuff that we needed, it was just a band-aid. And I'm never gonna say that band-aid is a good thing, when instead you could have had a healthy game in the first place that was fun and fresh and changing in its own merit, in its own way. And the thing about essences is that it's a static change, right? You come into the patch that adds essences, and now you've got a whole bunch of cool new stuff to learn and adds freshness to the game. But then because it's static and now you have them, it also becomes stale. They need a system that can add freshness to how you play and keep things interesting over the course of the entire expansion, instead of this thing where they're like, oh shit, things are stale, let's add essences, and then it's stale again the next tier. That
Right.
doesn't fix it. And that's I'm coming back to tier sets again, because that did that. You know, every new
True.
tier there was something new that added depth and flair and flavor to your class automatically as you acquired this power. And I think that that's a good thing that would kind of get rid of this need for band-aids. And the other thing I wanted to say, which is kind of on a different track, the one thing about essences that I really, really like was the acquisition
That's
principles.
exactly what I was gonna go to. It's a different topic, just to separate it for the viewers to keep track. It's a different thing what the actual essences did to the game, like what did you pressing those buttons feel like, and a different thing, like the acquisition, is what I think was the cool part of this, that you have to play all kinds of types of the game to get them, and they could use that moving forward. Is that what you're gonna say? Sorry if I jumped in.
Basically,
yeah.
exactly right. Like the biggest weakness of tier sets was that there was only one activity that gave them, and
Yes.
in the absence of Master Loot in particular, it's an extraordinarily RNG way to obtain a power increase. For as long as I've played the game, I've heard people talk about and agreed with the fact that you should be able to work toward power increases in a kind of deterministic way where you put an effort and eventually you're going to get rewarded. Not all power increases should be locked behind the RNG of did it drop or not. Does the master like me or not?
Does he have
so
you
I
on
like
the ban on the ignored list?
exactly. So
Yeah.
I like the fact that essences are a power. Like all of these things are just power increases, right? A piece of gear, an essence, a tier set. These are all power increases. I like the fact that essences were a power increase that you could say, I want blood of the enemy. This is the task I have to achieve. After achieving that task, I acquire my power increase. That's a good system, I think, of having power increases, and I like that. And having the variety of different ways of getting different ones is also cool. And if they were going to bring back tier sets, or in some way have some kind of system that gives you changing, fresh gameplay over the course of the entire expansion, instead of here's a system and then it becomes stale, whatever they do with that, if they do, it should be something that you can acquire in a deterministic way in a multitude of different activities depending on what you enjoy.
Couldn't have articulated that better, honestly.
That's why you're here, bro.
That's whew, excellent.
Good think English is his first tongue, yeah.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I don't know how you guys agree, but from my standpoint, from playing it like competitive and also how I enjoy the dungeons and stuff, I think Freehold, Atal, and what was the other one? And
Underlord?
Motherlode are actually dungeons that are competitive, really interesting, and also appealing to play for a lot of people. The only problem is that with Motherlode, obviously a bad example because you don't play half the trash. But if you would fix the dungeon, it would be really interesting, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
it's
Yeah,
really
you go,
easy
you go.
to see.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to say, I interrupted a little bit, but just jumping on that, I think you're absolutely right, and it's easy to see why, right? Those are open dungeons
Exactly.
with a lot of different pathings and routes and things and decisions to be made that allow you to be creative and competitive. As opposed
Open
to
the
like,
walls. Let us
Actually,
breathe.
open-
Let us
actually open
breathe
the
in our
walls.
dungeons, man. Like, I was doing a Tol Dagor as a Tauren. I can't even see what is in front of me as a Tauren. Like, it's so... Oh,
It's true, yeah.
stop
And
making
to-
buildings. Just open area. All right. I do want to talk a bit more, but I'm just gonna let Deep Sage. Do you have to add anything to this? Because I've looked
Yeah,
at the
I have
time
to
and
say-
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to say, as someone that like played a lot of M+ in Legion and was good at it, I think like this expansion has been horrible. I think a weekly affix kinda can destroy a season if it's a bad one. So just as soon as like there's an affix you don't like, the whole season is ruined for you. I think that's what happened also in BFA with Infested from the get-go. Like
That's
I
true.
think the
I
majority
agree,
of people can agree that Infested was a horrendous
Was
affix,
pretty bad,
which
yeah.
made people afterwards even not go into M+ anymore. So as good as a as good as a season affix can be, it can also go the other way around. I fully agree with like the dungeon should be way more open. It shouldn't be just linear. You should have options where to go, what trash to play. In my opinion, it's only like Atal, Freehold, and Untitled that did that good. But then again, I didn't play tournament like Meres, so in that regard, he's more knowledgeable. I do think also still that the tournament mode, aka the speed running, is way more interesting than the actual high key pushing. Because like, first of all, it's still random what key you get. Like there should be at least like after you complete a key option out of 3 keys, you can choose or something afterwards. And it's like, it sounds very harsh, but I feel like high key pushing has way less skill involved than running it fast. Like the tactic is pretty obvious most of the time. You are very reliant on the BIS classes. So are you in the MDI, obviously, let's not lie about it. But especially since you guys have the interrupting nowadays and like so much trash and everything, melees are just ultimately way better overall than most ranges, which makes it like for me as a warlock obviously already like very, very disappointing to even step foot into M+. And the rewarding system once again is just horrendous. Like there should be seasonal titles again. There should be maybe cool mounts at the end of a season or something. But like all you get is like a little bit of loot, which in my case is not interesting for me.
Yeah, what about the affixes? I don't. Did you, in general, talk about? Am I the only one who feels like,
Nah, I
oh
think
man,
they're bad as well. I
Yeah.
think the majority of affixes aren't fun. And Nogi has said it a long time ago, and I put it then also when I spoke once a bit more elaborate on a Mythic Plus, my Reddit post back in the days. Maybe there should be even positive affixes that can help you or give you
Mhm.
buffs at certain moments in a dungeon, or like maybe a permanent buff, a Bloodlust reset. I don't know. Blizzard will find something that makes sense, but I don't think affixes always necessarily have to be bad. And yeah, I agree with both Jesse and you, Roger. I think Maris didn't talk too much about the affixes itself. There is like some that are just not fun. Independent if they're hard or easy, some are just not fun. And Blizzard has to find a way to make more of them fun to play and like bring a little bit more fresh affixes in that makes M+ more spicy again or enjoyable.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, I would say like looking at how much work they put in Legion to get this system off the ground, I was expecting something cool in BFA, and it just felt like they didn't put as much emphasis on it. They thought like, hey, everyone liked it, let's just keep it the same. I think I'm hoping that they will work on it though, come up with cool ideas, like they did with the Awakened. Just come up with more of that, and it's gonna be cool. Also, Tyrannical, please no more Tyrannical.
That
beg.
was what I just
In-
wanted still to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, Maris. Fortified
Yeah.
and Tyrannical, I do not think they should be an affix. I think there should be a cool middle ground that is every week active instead of 1 week I play 5-minute bosses
Yes.
and 1 week I play 30 minutes trash but a 1-minute boss. Obviously a little bit exaggerated, but you guys get the point. I do not think that either of the affixes give anything in the actual gameplay.
Yeah, you don't have to talk to anyone either. Exactly. Like.
That makes like the whole social system, I feel like, in the game worse. Like pugging is ultimately very toxic a lot of times. People
Mhm.
just leave keys, people just leave raids, and I feel like
No.
Right,
especially,
G?
like
Right, G?
and I feel like I don't know if you guys have these questions as well, but people seem to tend to struggle nowadays really hard finding actual friends in the game. Like I don't know if I should join a guild, or like I don't know how like to get into keys. No one invites me and stuff, and I don't know. People seem like so socially incompetent nowadays, which is very sad. I feel like in a game like WoW.
F's in the chat if you have no friends in World of Warcraft.
no,
I mean,
friends.
it sounded very harsh, but I think we all got these questions in our streams.
I mean, I'll agree. I'll agree. Like in the past, definitely was the game made you build more relationships, and kind of forced you to find people to do stuff with. Now with all the systems and the queuing and all, not that I dislike the queuing system. Let's get that clear. I like being in like the group finder. I think is a good system to have.
Yeah,
But
for
but
sure.
so I'm not saying I hate when people are like, no, this like okay, LFR I hate regardless, but like these systems, they just you don't have to run to the dungeon. Like yeah, you're ruining that part. So no, get rid of dungeon finder, get rid of group finder. No, like those things are good. How about you find a different reason to do what you wanna accomplish? So do you want to explore the world more? Find another reason, not just because you have to fly to a freaking dungeon every week. Find a cool reason why people would want to go around instead. Do you want to socialize with people? Yeah, keep LFR or whatever, like group finder, and but force them into forming guilds and building relationships with other incentives. I don't want to like demolish the game and go back to like the classic ways, but they haven't actually done something, in my opinion, to address that problem in a different way.
I'm just boggled trying to think about anything about it that I could possibly say I want to keep or change or
Really?
anything good about it at all. Yeah, I mean, we can split this up again, right? Similar to Essences, there's the ways in which it adds to your class's depth and abilities and your power, and then also acquisition. And when it comes to corruption, both were shit. The acquisition of corruption was horrendous, and because it came at the end of the expansion, they didn't have the ability to iterate over the course of the expansion to allow you to get it to the place where it was good when it was relevant. And then the way in which it increases your power is terrible. I want classes to be fun and complex and deep and fresh and interesting to play, not feel like every time you do any kind of content, what matters isn't what buttons you push or how you push them, but what your gear does on its own randomly. That feels awful. It's unmotivating to people who want to get better, because getting better doesn't matter. What matters is how much your infinite stars procs. And it's demotivating to people who play well, because playing well doesn't matter. What matters is how often your ineffable truth procs. It's a terrible way to add power to the game. And then the acquisition system was potentially even worse. I don't know. I don't see anything good about any of it. Get rid of it all. Don't keep a single bit.
All of it. Okay.
But I do think using the claw is better than using either the alchemy trinket or the humming trinket, both for the damage it provides. And you won't believe me, but because if you play a lot of Ineffable Truth and you play really, really well, the claw provides some mana, which you actually do need. And none of you are going to believe me, but I can prove it with a log. If you play perfectly with a lot of Ineffable Truth, Holy Paladin does go boom. Anyway, so then your last question was...
Going That is impossible. I will. That is.
If you play a lot of Ineffable Truth and you play a lot of Haste and you play perfectly and don't miss Holy Shocks, then because of the Ineffable Truth procs, you are pushing Holy Shock and Light of Dawn way more, which costs mana, and Crusader Strike and empty GCDs way less, which are free, and you actually can go I have a log of Sinesh where I went in 4 minutes without pushing a single Flash of Light or a single Holy Light, just because of procs. It does happen, and if you use
you sure you didn't play wrong?
I promise you I didn't. Anyway,
and that, guys, thanks so much for watching. Any final thoughts, Chief? Any shout outs that you want to do? Any,
I would like to shout out really fun and engaging class-based gameplay that is not excessively based on RNG variants and scales with skill. Big shout out there.
Shout out to that. Cheers. Merez, anything you want to say? Closing.
I'm gonna shout out the 10 Blizzard employees that are currently watching, and I hope you are having you're working on the alpha and you're listening to the feedback. Thank you.
We have spotted you. We have data mined you that you're in the chat.
Yeah.
And what about you, Deep Shades? Any shout outs? He's good. Acting cool, I see. I like it.
I mean, who should I shout out, bro? Who should I shout out?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. Oof.